I never expected to find myself in this situation, but here I am, sharing my story. 3 weeks ago, I found out the truth about Amber and her friends. It all started when she left her phone unlocked on the coffee table while she took a shower. I wasn't snooping, but a group chat notification popped up, and something about it caught my attention. It was a chat titled BF Review Board, and when I glanced at the message, it mentioned boyfriend rankings followed by a laughing emoji. Instinct told me to take a look, and I'm thankful I did. As I scrolled through the conversation, my stomach sank. The chat was filled with Amber and 7 of her friends, women I'd known for years, some of whom I'd even vacationed with. They'd been rating their boyfriends, ranking us in categories like income, body, sexual performance, potential, and social status. Each category had scores and detailed comments. To my horror, I found I was at the bottom of every category. But the worst part wasn't the scores. It was the cruel, humiliating comments. There were messages about my body, mocking me for being skinny and laughing at my appearance. One even said, "I always close my eyes and think about Chris Hemsworth when he gets naked." They shared private photos of me, pictures I didn't know existed, one she'd taken secretly when I was changing, sleeping, or getting dressed. My most intimate moments were being dissected and ridiculed. Amber, the woman I had loved for 4 years, had written the nastiest comments herself. One of them even said, "He thinks I'm going to marry him. Can you imagine being stuck with that mediocrity forever?" I was stunned. I saved screenshots of everything and placed her phone back exactly where it was before she came out of the shower. I acted like nothing had happened, keeping my composure as we talked about dinner plans and weekend activities. But inside, I was already planning my exit. The next day, I casually brought up the group chat, and Amber's eyes narrowed. She immediately asked if I'd gone through her phone. I responded nonchalantly, mentioning the ranking system I'd seen. She brushed it off, saying it was just a stupid game and that I was overreacting. When I pointed out the comments about my body and the private photos, she dismissed it further, telling me, "Guys share worse stuff about women all the time." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I just stared at her, letting the silence sink in. Then I said, "For years together and I'm just a joke to you?" She laughed coldly and said, "You should be grateful I even touch you. Do you know how many guys would kill to be with me?" I said nothing, just walked away, and slept in the guest room that night. The next morning, I contacted my lawyer, my accountant, and my business partner. I had a plan, and it was time to execute it. See, Amber didn't understand what it meant to date someone like me, someone who worked in IT security. I knew systems, vulnerabilities, and how to make a clean exit. I had already started working on it. First, I took care of practical matters. Amber and I weren't married, but we'd been living together for 3 years. She had never paid a dime toward the mortgage, but had mentioned putting her name on the deed for tax purposes. I had always delayed it. Thankfully, I contacted my property manager to arrange for the locks to be changed while Amber was away at a work retreat the following week. Next, I began separating our digital lives. I removed her access from all my accounts, my subscriptions, and my cloud storage. Most importantly, I secured my company data. Amber had occasionally helped with some marketing work, and I made sure she had no access to anything critical. The personal stuff was trickier. We had 4 years of intertwined lives, photos, mutual friends, memories. I didn't want to erase it all in one dramatic outburst, so I planned everything carefully. For the next week, I played the perfect boyfriend, attentive, thoughtful, and normal, while quietly moving my important things in my office, redirecting my mail, and preparing a new place to stay. The day Amber left for her retreat, I helped her pack and kissed her goodbye like everything was fine. Then I began the process. I moved out a small percentage of my belongings, things I needed or couldn't replace. The rest, the things we bought together, furniture, artwork, kitchen gadgets, remain untouched. Material things could be replaced. My self-respect couldn't. Then I changed the locks and reset the security system. Her key fob was deactivated, and I made sure everything was legally sound. Since the condo was in my name, and she had no claim to it, I didn't just block her on my phone. I set up forwarding rules, so that her messages would appear delivered but would go into a separate folder I'd never check. Calls would ring, but they'd go straight to voicemail. Amber came back from her retreat, and the next few days were filled with her attempts to reach out, call, and text me, but by then I had already moved on. She never knew what hit her. It might have seemed like I was ignoring her, but in reality, I had no idea she was trying to contact me. The third step I took was what I called the social firewall. I didn't blast her on social media. That's what amateurs do. Instead, I sent private messages to 10 people I genuinely cared about, sharing screenshots of what she'd said about me, about them, and their partners. No commentary, just the raw facts. For my business connections, I sent short, professional notes explaining that Amber and I had parted ways and asked that any communication be directed to my official channels. Then I checked into a high-end hotel across town, ordered room service, and slept better than I had in months. Amber's retreat ended early on the third day. I knew because I had set up security cameras at the condo, which she didn't know about. Alerts came through as she tried to get in, and I watched from afar as she discovered her key no longer worked and her code was rejected. Her panic was growing as she realized what was happening. The first text came in at 8:42 p.m. What the hell? My key doesn't work. Are you serious right now? Answer me. I didn't respond and didn't even see it until much later when I checked my filtered messages. A week later, she emailed me a spreadsheet claiming she had contributed to our household expenses over the past 3 years and demanded her fair share of our joint purchases. I didn't open the attachment or respond. Money was a small price to pay to truly understand who she was. Her friends started texting me next, trying to make me feel guilty. They got the same silent treatment. By the second day, she had made her way to my office. My staff had been briefed, polite, professional, and absolutely no access or information about me. The security footage showed her screaming at my assistant, demanding to know where I was. Kate handled it perfectly, calm, emotionless, and with security on speed dial. By the end of the first week, her social implosion was complete. The screenshots had spread through our circle, and her friends were turning on each other, realizing they had all been mocked behind their backs. They had been part of a club of mutual mockery, and now they were all part of the fallout. 2 weeks later, Amber's marketing firm was hit with an unexpected security audit. It wasn't directly related to me, but when auditors found that one of their employees had been using company servers to store and share unauthorized explicit images, there were consequences. She was fired, and her personal items were sent to her sister's house, where she had been staying after being locked out of my condo. By week 3, Amber was effectively homeless, staying with her sister, jobless, and socially toxic. Not one of our mutual friends would associate with her. The perfect boyfriend she had mocked was gone, leaving nothing behind but scorched earth. That's when she showed up at my hotel. I don't know how she found me, but she was waiting in the lobby when I returned from a business dinner. She was sobbing, her makeup streaked down her face. "Please," she begged. "I'm begging you, just talk to me." I walked past her, heading toward the elevator. "I lost my job. I have nowhere to go. My sister's kicking me out," she cried. The elevator doors opened, and I stepped inside. "You can't just throw away 4 years," she shouted as the doors began to close. I finally spoke. Actually, it was 137 messages over 2 years. The doors closed on her stunned face. That night, I received an email from her, somehow bypassing my filters. She made a desperate plea. She'd signed a non-disclosure agreement, never contact me again, if I'd just help her with 1 month's rent. I had my lawyer respond with a single document. It outlined explicit photos she had taken without my consent and shared without permission, including the relevant laws about privacy invasion and revenge porn. The twist was that in this case, she was the one who had broken the law, and I was the victim. No threats, just facts. I never heard from her again. It's been 2 months now. I'm back in my condo, which I completely redecorated. My company landed 2 major contracts, partly because clients appreciate working with someone who handles security breaches decisively and discreetly. I've started dating again, cautiously. It turns out when you raise your standards and value yourself, you attract people who do the same. My new rule is simple. I won't accept anything less than mutual respect. As for Amber, I heard she moved back to her hometown. People sometimes ask if I think I went too far. Maybe, but I prefer to think of it as a proportional response. She spent years secretly judging me, undermining my dignity and making me feel small. All I did was show her how much she had underestimated me. For those asking, yes, I still have all the evidence securely stored, including the photos she took without consent. No, I didn't pursue legal action, because legal action would have meant interacting with her, discussing her, and thinking about her. I didn't want her taking up any more space in my life. The document from my lawyer was enough. It showed her exactly how screwed she'd be if I chose to go that route. I chose a cleaner option, to erase her completely from my life. Some people ask if I feel bad about her losing her job. Not at all. She violated her company's strict policies by using work servers for personal content. She made her choices, and she faced the consequences. Others ask why I didn't confront her directly. Why should I? She had already shown me who she was, both in the group chat and when she laughed and told me I should be grateful she even touched me. People who respect you don't need ultimatums or second chances to treat you with basic dignity. As for the condo, no, I never moved out permanently. I temporarily stayed at a hotel for a few weeks after changing the locks, then moved back in once I had redecorated and removed all traces of her. My absence was strategic, not a surrender my property. To the guy who called me cold-blooded, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Being calculated isn't the same as being cruel. I didn't destroy her life. I simply removed myself from it entirely and let her experience the natural consequences of her actions. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't making someone suffer. It's making them irrelevant.